A federal appeals court has just issued a ruling that directly challenges one of California's most restrictive gun laws, and the implications go far beyond the state itself. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that California's ban on open carry in certain heavily populated areas violates the Second Amendment. This decision doesn't just affect how California regulates firearms, it raises new questions about how far states can go when limiting public carry under the Constitution. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what California's law actually did. For years, California prohibited the open carry of firearms in most major cities and counties. The law was designed to make public carry effectively impossible in large population centers, regardless of whether a person could legally own a firearm. Supporters of the law argued it was necessary for public safety. Opponents argued it went too far and stripped law-abiding citizens of a constitutional right. That disagreement finally reached the federal courts. In this case, the Ninth Circuit examined whether banning open carry in broad geographic areas can survive under the Supreme Court's modern Second Amendment framework, and the court concluded that it cannot. The key issue wasn't whether states can regulate firearms at all. It was whether the Constitution allows a state to completely prohibit one of the traditional methods of bearing arms in public. The court focused heavily on history. Under recent Supreme Court precedent, especially decisions emphasizing historical tradition, modern gun regulations must be consistent with how firearms were regulated at the time of the nation's founding. If a modern law has no historical analog, it becomes constitutionally vulnerable. The Ninth Circuit found that broad bans on open carry in populous areas lack that historical support. Historically, states regulated how weapons were carried, but outright bans on public carry were rare and narrowly applied. What California attempted to do, according to the court, went beyond regulation and into prohibition. That distinction is critical. Regulation allows conditions, limitations, and rules. Prohibition eliminates the right entirely in practice. The court concluded that California's law crossed that line. Now, it's important to be clear about what this ruling does and does not do. This decision does not automatically legalize unrestricted carry everywhere. It does not erase all firearm regulations. And it does not mean California has no authority to regulate how firearms are carried in public. What it does mean is that states cannot use population density alone as a justification to eliminate a constitutional right. That principle matters nationally. Many states have tried to justify sweeping carry restrictions by pointing to crowded urban areas. This ruling challenges that logic directly. If population size alone were enough to eliminate a constitutional right, the right would effectively disappear wherever most people live. The court made clear that the Constitution does not operate that way. This decision also puts pressure on other laws built on similar reasoning. While the ruling applies directly only within the Ninth Circuit, it creates persuasive authority that other courts will consider, and it increases the likelihood of further challenges to restrictive carry laws in other states. Another important aspect of this ruling is timing. The decision comes at a moment when courts across the country are still adjusting to the Supreme Court's recent Second Amendment guidance. Lower courts are being forced to re-examine laws that were previously upheld under older legal tests. That process is far from settled. Some courts have struck down restrictions, others have upheld them, and the Supreme Court has not yet resolved all of the disagreements. This Ninth Circuit ruling adds another piece to that developing legal landscape. It also creates a potential path back to the Supreme Court. When federal appellate courts issue decisions that reshape constitutional interpretation, states often seek further review. That could mean rehearing requests, en banc review, or even a petition to the Supreme Court itself. So while this ruling is significant, it may not be the final word. For gun owners, the immediate takeaway should be caution and awareness. Even when a law is ruled unconstitutional, enforcement does not always change overnight. States may seek to pause enforcement, revise statutes, or appeal the decision. That means the practical effects can vary depending on what happens next. But from a constitutional perspective, this ruling is a clear signal. Courts are increasingly skeptical of laws that eliminate public carry rather than regulate it, and they are increasingly unwilling to accept broad public safety justifications without historical backing. This ruling also highlights an important reality about Second Amendment litigation. These cases rarely move quickly. They build slowly through the courts, decision by decision, often over years. Each ruling shapes how the next case is argued and how courts understand the limits of government power. The Ninth Circuit's decision doesn't stand alone. It fits into a broader trend where courts are demanding stronger constitutional justification for firearm restrictions. Whether that trend continues will depend on how higher courts respond. For now, what's clear is this: a federal appeals court has ruled that California's open carry ban, as applied in large population centers, violates the Second Amendment. That ruling challenges long-standing assumptions about how far states can go in restricting public carry, and it reinforces a principle that's becoming central to modern Second Amendment law. The Constitution protects rights in practice, not just in theory. As this case moves forward and other courts respond, its impact will become clearer. But even now, it marks another major moment in the ongoing legal battle over gun rights in the United States.